This is Construct, and I'm going to make a really awesome, super simple, and approachable game today. So if you want to learn about Construct, if you know some and want to know more, or you just really like space shooting games, this tutorial is for you. Let's get started. Launch now. All right. And this is what's also going to be great about this tutorial. You don't need to log in. If you have an account, awesome. But we're going to actually use, it's going to be simple enough and really aimed at beginners that we won't have to be worried about a login. I click new project. I'm just going to name mine Space Shooter because I'm creative. This is all fine, and hit create. All right. And so this is our canvas area. This is the camera area, and the rest of this is outside of the camera. So the rest of us isn't actually seen by the player when we hit run. What we're going to do first, though, is add some images, add some sprites, add our player, for instance. And we do that over here under object types. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to right click and hit add new object. Once I'm here, I need to find sprites, which is this. Click. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit insert. All right, so there's our sprite. Whoops. This is going to be where it's placed. Okay, here's our new sprite, and I'm going to go ahead and double click. And these files that I'm about to add, I will link them. They're all public domain or Creative Commons files that are free to use. So I'll link the source is for those. And I'm going to go ahead and add my player image, my player ship. But now I can already tell this is going to be much too large. So I'm going to hit resize, and yeah, that's going to be too big. So let's do something more like, 140 by 100. Okay. And that looks a bit better. And I need to turn it. And great. So that looks good to me, right? And so I'm going to close this one off. And now I'm going to hit right click, rename, and player. Let's move him over here. Right here-ish. Okay. Now I'm going to add another sprite, and the next sprite I'm adding is a bullet. So, and once you've clicked on that, you're going to go ahead and right click, add new object. Once you've added that, or clicked on that, I'm going to scroll down to sprite. I'm going to click insert, and let's have them there. All right. And what I'm going to add now is the laser. And again, I'll post links to all of these assets. So mine's called beams, open. There we are. I'm going to resize this as well. And that's pretty, let's do maybe 75 by 40. Okay, great. And there's our laser right there. I'm going to pull this up. So what we can do at this point is animate our laser being shot, right? We can start with the actual gameplay. If I hit run right now, let's preview it. So not much going on, but we'll change that, okay? The one thing we do need to do before we're going to use our mouse to shoot. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to right click again, add new object, and I need to actually add the mouse so we can track it. Insert. And that is looking great. So let's head now to the event sheet. And the event sheet is where you make things actually happen. You make events. And this is how we're going to make our ship be able to shoot out our laser. So I'm going to go ahead and add event. Okay. And what do I want to use? Well, I'm going to use the mouse. So I'm going to hit next. And what's the mouse going to do? Well, on click of the mouse is when the player should be shooting our laser. So on click, let's hit next. Okay, so on left click, yep, and I'm going to hit done. And here it is way up here. So on the left click, on the left button being clicked, what do we want? Well, we want player to spawn another object. And that object's going to be our laser. So next, choose sprite laser. Oh, I should rename that. We will in a second. And we want it on layer 0, image point 1. Done. And here we are. Let's test. I'm going to click, and there is our laser. Woohoo! We've started making our game. All right, let me close this. And I do want to rename this to beam. Okay, that would just be easier. All right, so what should we be doing now? Well, I say we make our laser actually move. And to do that, we need to make some changes to our beam. So I'm going to click on beam over here. And when I do, we get all of this info. Okay? So what I'm going to need is to add some behaviors. So here's my behaviors. I'm going to click add. And what do we need? Well, we do need for it to have a speed. So we can scroll through here and click bullet. And they already have this set up, so that's really nice. It makes it really easy to do this type of game making. I'm going to hit add. All right. And now we have all of the stuff we need for our bullet behavior. So whatever speed we want for our laser, I don't know. I often do right around 700. Acceleration, I'm not going to need that. That's good. Set angle. Step isn't needed. And you do want that enabled. All right, let's go ahead and run our game again. Boom. 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 Notice how the laser is on top of the player. So how you can change that, by the way, is I'm going to hit, right? So right there, I'm going to hit X. I'm going to go over to the player. And once I'm on the player here, the Z elevation, I'm just going to set it to 1. Let's try that again. And there we go, under the player. All right, awesome. So let's keep going. Let's go ahead and set up our player to follow the mouse around. So I'm going to hit add event. Okay, add event. And what we need for this one is system. And then next. And inside the system, we're looking for a time-based thing. So it's every tick. Oh, did I miss it? Up every tick. That's what we need. Next. Okay, so on every tick, what do we want? Well, add action. We want the player. Next. To set angle towards, there it was. We want the player to set the angle towards. Next. And then what we're going to have here is actually not numbers, but mouse dot X. Okay. And then mouse dot Y. And so now our player, done, should follow the mouse around. See, you can already see where or how it's becoming a game. So awesome. Now let's go ahead and add the other stuff we need. I'm going to click on layout and I'm going to go back over here to object types. I'm going to right click, add new object type, sprite, insert. And now that I've added it, whoops, you got to click down. All right, so I click down and here's this box. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And let's add our enemy. Open. All right. And I do want the enemy to be facing another way. This should be good. Actually, let's have it. I might have to change this. Let's go ahead now though and hit resize. And I want 140 by 100. Okay. Great. And here's our enemy. Up, and I think those are the rockets. So I'm actually gonna there we are. And I might want to increase the size a bit. So maybe 160 by 120. Okay, that's looking a bit better. I'm going to right click over here, rename, and name our enemy. Okay, so we have one enemy, and I can just click and drop another enemy in here, and another, maybe one more, right? We can have a bunch of enemies. We'll start off with just that. While we're doing this though, let's go ahead and get our other object types added. So I'm going to click on object type. I'm going to right click, add new object, scroll down and sprite, insert, click. What this one's going to be is the explosion. File open, explosion, open. So there we are. Okay. And let me see this scale. That's a pretty good scale. I might a tiny bit, but honestly, that is a decent size. All right, so I'm going to hit X, and I'm going to rename this to you could say fire, you could say explosion. Doesn't really matter a ton, but you just want to understand what it is. So explosion for me, I'm going to drag this guy off the screen. All right. And the last thing I want to add, just because it makes the game a bit more fun, is a background. So I'm going to click here, new object type. And we're going to do a tiled background. Insert. And so tiled just means it will repeat if the image is not big enough. I'm going to click open. And again, this is all public domain. I'll link these in the description. Space open. And that's going to be my background. And to make sure this stuff is in front, I'm going to click on enemy. Okay. And if I do click on enemy, let's do -1 for our background, and that pushes it back some. Let's hit play. So nothing really is happening yet, but you can get an idea of what this is all going to look like. And it's already looking really, really good. So, great. Let's now head back over and start adding more events so the stuff gets moving around. All right, let's get to our event sheet. And in this, we are... All right, so let's go ahead and get the enemies moving. So, to do this, we're going to want to be spawning our enemies and, well, getting them to start going. All right, so to get a constant movement, a constant speed out of them, we are going to need to click on enemy. Okay, so enemy, and then it pops up over here, and they're going to need a behavior. And now let's hit add behavior. And we're actually going to add the bullet behavior because the whole enemy is going to behave somewhat like a, well, bullet. They're aimed at us. So I'm scrolling down here, bullet, and add. Okay, and our enemy's speed is going to be a bit less than the laser, of course. I'm going to click over here, and we're going to start them at 60. And the rest of this can be left alone. Okay. All right. And now let's work on the beam impacting the enemy. So I'm going to hit add event, And once I do, beam, next. And then what we're worried about, or what we're looking for here, is on collision with the enemy. So on collision with another object, next. Which object? Click to choose our enemy, the bad guy. Okay, and done. So on collision with the enemy, what are we going to have set to happen? Well, we're going to add an action. And action to what? Well, we need our laser to spawn something. So next. And what will it spawn? It's going to spawn an explosion. Because it made contact. We hit the bad guy. Spawn another object is what we're looking for. And which objects? I'm going to just click here. The explosion. Okay. What layer? That's fine. Image point. Let's do 1 again. Oh, actually, we do want that one at 0. Done. All right. And then let's go ahead and destroy that beam. So beam, next. And I'm going to just search destroy. There we are. Next. All right. So we got the beam destroyed and an explosion happened. All right. At this point, let's go ahead and kill off the enemy. So our enemy next is going to be destroyed. Next. Let's test this all out. Oh, they're going the wrong way. Oh yeah, we have to add a bit more. All right, let's leave this for now. We need to add a few things to make sure our enemies are attacking us. Let's hit add event, enemy, next. And then we're going to do is we need outside. There it is outside the layout. Next. Okay. If the enemy is outside the layout, well, this is where we're getting the enemy pointed to the player. Enemy. Next. And then we want angle. And what do we want the angle for the enemy to be is we're going to do the player.x value and the player.y. Okay, done. And now we need to add a method of rotation for enemies close to the player. So I'm going to hit add event again. And at this point, it's going to be a system event. Next. And what we need to have happen here is a for each. Oh, nope. We just need, a for each loop. So I'm going to click on that. Next. And then what do I need? Well, I need for each enemy because that's who we're going to be having move. Okay. Done. So for each enemy, perfect. And then what do we want? Well, we need our enemy to rotate towards the player. So rotate, let's say 2 degrees towards player.x. Whoops. and player.fly. Done. Okay, so now the enemy should be rotating, well, towards the player. All right, and let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to click play. And whoop, we see this ship turn around. Rah, 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 because it is on the screen and we can fix that. And we have not made these explosions actually disappear. So that is also something to fix. Okay, so let's go ahead now, and actually I'm going to go to layout because I want to drag this guy off the screen so we don't see the whole turnaround thing. And what I am going to do though too, I'm going to, edit our enemy to turn them towards the player. Alright. Where's that? Let's go now and test this out. There we are. And so now our ships are coming in towards us. Okay. And you notice how close together they were? Oops, I didn't mean to move that. Alright, and that's just fine. Let's go to the event sheet. And let's keep going with this. So let's go ahead and make our explosion fade. I'm going to go over here and click on it. And once I have done that, we are going to add a behavior. New behavior. Fade. Okay. And the time to fade out, I'm thinking 0.5. Awesome. All right. So that will be good. Why don't we add some health to our enemy? And to do that, we need to add a variable. So I'm going to go over here and click on enemy. Once I'm on enemy, I'm going to go way over here. All right, so I'm on enemy, instance variables, click, and add. And we're going to name this health because it's their health. I'm going to give mine an initial value of 4. Okay, and we can change that if we want. Hit OK. And so enemy health is now 4. That is great. So now what we want to do is instead of have the enemy get destroyed the second we hit them, we're going to hit add action. And what that action will be is we're going to click enemy next, and then we need subtract. So enemy next, subtract. Instance variable health 1. Subtract from health 1. And that would make sense. Done. And so now when the enemy is hit, the enemy loses 1 health. And so we want to add an event because now we want the enemy to die when they have no health left. So next, okay, enemy compare instance variable next. So when health is less than 1, right? When health is less than 1, the enemy's dead. Let's hit done. What do we want to have happen when health is less than 1? Well, this. I want the, whoops, that can stay up there. I want to destroy the enemy. So now it's going to take 4 shots, hopefully, to destroy our enemy. See? And now that's fading, and this is really starting to look great. Awesome. All right. So there's a few things left to do. We want to have our enemy respawn, right? So enemies will keep coming after our player. So what we can do to do that is add an event using the system. Next. And then what we're going to have happen is a every seconds type of thing. So should be every X seconds. Yes. Next. Every 1, every 2, every 3. Let's go with 4. I don't know why. It's the enemy's health. So every 4 seconds, what do I need to have happen? Well, I'm going to add system. We're going to create some new enemies. Next. And create object. Next. What object? Right? So choose enemy. Okay. And then the layer, and which is 0 for mine, X and Y. X is going to be roughly 1500 is fine. And then for Y, let's make it actually random. So I'm going to do, random, the word random, okay? And then range 0 to, and I'll say, 1100 for my random number, okay? Done. And so this should randomize how many enemies are there. And we can test this out in a few ways. And you know what? Should we do every 2? I'm going to do every 3. Done. All right. And now we get to test. So remember, I originally added only 4 enemies. And so after these first 4, and those explosions are working really nice, it's starting to look really good. After these first few, right, there should be, hopefully, others. And here they are. So these are the random ones we just generated. And it looks like we might want to... Oh no, they're common. And you can increase or decrease the rate of being generated, or we could just kick up a notch how many we have to start. So I'm going to X this. Let's go to our layout page. I'm going to pull this over. And yeah, I'm just going to add several more to start out, because then they will have more spawning as well. And the more you add, I promise you, the harder it will be. Wow, look at them all. Pretty cool. I want to do one more thing, and that is, well, I want to do a couple more things. I want to add a score and add a way to lose. So I'm going to hit X on that, and we are now going to add a global variable. So I'm going to right click, add global variable, and this is going to be score. Number is going to be 0, boom. Here it is up here, okay? So for this to work, first we need the score to print on the screen. So we're going to update the screen every tick with the score. I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and then, we need to go to layout, and I got to actually add the score. So I'm going to click on object types, new object type. Did I miss it? Text. I'm going to put the score somewhere up here. Okay, I want its color to be yes. Or I guess I could just click that. Okay, there we are. I'd like it to be, I don't know, 24? No, 20? Okay, that looks good. And I don't want it to say text. Oh, well, it actually won't matter, but I'm still going to name it. That's fine. But what I need it to be named over here, rename score text. Okay, so we're going to update this text with the actual score. So on my event sheet, I'm now going to do every tick, add score text, next, and then we need set text, next. And what are we going to set it to? Well, we're going to set it to score, but not just that, because we're also going to use this and sign, which means also print out our variable. And what's our variable? Score. So we're also going to ask the computer to print out whatever score is equal to. Done. Okay? So that's looking good. We're printing it out. Now, when should we actually get the point? When should we get a point? Well, and should have noticed this. We want the explosion to also happen when the enemy is destroyed. So let's hit add. And once we've hit add, we want to go ahead and change our enemy into an explosion. Next, and enemy spawn. Just going to search for it, spawn another object, click to choose, explosion, okay. And that looks great, 0 and 0, okay. And then let's go ahead and add to the score. So set action. To do that, we're going to click system. We're adding to our score variable. Next. And to add to our score, we're going to use add to. Next. And since we just destroyed an enemy, we're going to add 1 to the score. Let's try our game. And there we are. Score is going up. Wow, there's so many. Okay, great. So now we need to make it so that the player, loses. And so to do that, to make it so the player loses, we need to add an event. And what that will be is enemy, next, collision, on collision with another object, next, which object? Player. Okay, done. What's going to happen when the enemy collides with the player? Well, player, oh no. Did I miss it? Whoa. Is destroyed. Next. All right, and so that would be the game over when the player blows up. One more thing we could do to make the game a bit more challenging, I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a global variable and I'm just going to name it speed, right? It's because this is how fast the enemy is going to be going. And I'm going to set it to 80 because that's the original speed of our enemy. Okay, and now where do we want to increase an enemy's speed? Well, if this is going to be used to control the speed of all enemies, all of them, right? Maybe we want to do it when either an enemy is respawned or when we shoot an enemy. So enemy's health is less than 1. Maybe I do it here or maybe I do it up here. I'm actually going to say I'll do it down here. So I'll add an action and what's going to happen is the system, next, add to, next, not score, but speed. How much do I want to add? I'll say I'll add 2. Every time I kill an enemy, they're going to get faster, right? And how are we going to apply this? How is this going to actually happen? Down here, every 3 seconds, we're going to add an action to this. And every 3 seconds, we are going to make sure that our enemy's speed is set to our variable speed. So enemy, move, set speed, enemy, set speed, next, and what are we going to set it to? And this is where we can just type in our variable, which is the word speed. Done. Okay, and now it should be noticeable that our game will get more difficult as we destroy more enemies. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, coming. Here's another wave. So it looks like I need to speed up how many enemies I'm spawning. What if we had 10? And what if we change the spawn rate to 2? Oh, I can see they're starting to speed up now. So this is something you can play with yourself. Oh my gosh. To figure out how you want it to be. They're definitely fast. And how rapidly you need them to spawn. Let's see if I boop, game over. No more player. And if you want to be fancy, you could definitely make a game over screen, right? You can slap the words game over on it. You could put a bunch of explosions there once the player gets hit. So create object. Where is that? Enemy's health. Oh, right. Enemy collides with player. So we could do player next spawn another object. What object? An explosion. Layer 0, image point 1, okay? And that will make it spawn that explosion. And then we could even, like I just said on the layout page, we could add another text. So object, add object type, text, insert here. And I would do it like right here-ish. Okay. Maybe try to do it towards the middle, maybe try to do it towards the top. Kind of up to you. I want it out of the way. And then I would want it to say oops, I just clicked off of it. Game over. And then let's do, I don't know, back color. And font of 30. Make it a bit dramatic. Okay. And then what we would do over here on the event sheet to make this work for us, we would, well, let's go back to this. I'm going to rename it. Overtext. It's our game overtext. Okay. And then I'm going to initially set it to invisible. Right? And so it won't be there when we start. And then on collision, when the player dies, add action. And that action is going to be overtext. Set visible. Next. Set it to visible. Done. All right, let's try again. Here our enemies are. And I'm going to actually just let them hit me. Oh no! And game over works. You could definitely add buttons to make, easy, medium, hard, where that controls the speed. You could add all sorts of stuff to this. Make it your own completely. Regardless, I'm going to post the assets that I use, the links in the description, and if I can link this game in some way, I will do that as well. Hopefully this was helpful. If you are still watching, you should hit like, you should hit subscribe. It gives me warm fuzzies and is goodness and stuff. And yeah, if you make something really cool, you should tell me about it below.